Welcome into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. My name is Andrew Erickson, also known as Big Pod Energy, and today I'm coming at you with my top 8 players that will disappoint in the 2022 fantasy football season. Here we go. Starting with number 8, quarterback Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs, ADP 31 overall. Mahomes ranked 4th in fantasy points per game last year, tying Justin Herbert with 12 weekly top 12 quarterback finishes in 2021. Still, Mahomes averaged fewer fantasy points per game than in 2020, and that was with Tyreek Hill in the fold. Heading into next season, Hill's departure cannot be ignored. The duo ranked 2nd in combined passing touchdowns since 2016, despite Mahomes not becoming the starter until the 2018 season. There's genuine concern about his top-tier weekly ceiling without Hill that is not being factored in his QB2 ADP and ECR ranking, especially coming off a season where he posted a career-low PFF passing grade and career-high in interceptions. He's being overvalued as a quarterback 2 in early best ball drafts on name recognition alone. Number 7, Ezekiel Elliott, running back Dallas Cowboys, ADP 35th overall. Zeke's main fantasy appeal is the touchdown opportunity he will see in a high-powered offense, coming off another season with poor rushing efficiency marks. And chances are, he probably will beat his ADP because he's an Iron Man and doesn't miss games. But even the greatest Ezekiel Elliott stands will admit the ride for him to finish as Ezekiel Elliott stands hardly will feel like a winning selection when he's hanging middling RB2 production most weeks. He's finished as a top 12 fantasy running back in just 35% of his games the past 2 seasons. I don't think he ends up being a true difference maker at this stage in his career, and the cost of drafting him over league-winning wide receivers in this range is something I just cannot justify. Keep in mind that 13.5 PPR points per game equated to the wide receiver 29 last season. Give me breakout wide receivers in the range where Zeke is being drafted. Number 6, tight end, Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews, ADP 19 overall. Be aware that even if Andrews does repeat his efforts as tight end 1, it may not be to the extent that it was in 2021. His 623 routes run were 209 more than he had in 2020 and fueled the career year. Andrews' increase in route running was tied to the Ravens' boosted pass play rate up to 56%. From 2019 to 2020, Baltimore passed on fewer than 46% of their offensive plays. Because Baltimore's increase in passing was due to necessity in 2021, I project it to regress closer to the 2019-2020 rate for this upcoming season. Considering Andrews' second-round ADP is significantly higher than it was in 2021 as a 5th rounder, he's too expensive for me, with him likely regressing statistically as the Ravens get back to the run game with Operation Ground and Pound. Number 5, Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, Miami Dolphins. Hill posted career low in yards after the catch per reception and yards per route run in 2021. His average depth of target also dipped dramatically to 10.6, which was his lowest since his rookie season. Hill was then traded to the Dolphins this offseason, but it's undeniable that going from Mahomes to Tua Tagovailoa is a massive downgrade for Hill. Tagovailoa has yet to show that he can properly fuel a fantasy wide receiver 1, so it's hard to expect Hill to deliver a top 10 season with a lesser passer. His current ADP is wide receiver 7, ADP overall 20th. Especially with Tua's lack of a confident deep ball, 34th in average depth of target last season, a prominent running game, and second-year wide receiver Jalen Waddle also heavily involved in the offensive game plan. Number 4, Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, San Francisco 49ers, 16th overall ADP. There's no reason to believe that Samuel will be able to sustain his same elite production from last season. Instead, natural regression is firmly in play, considering that no wide receiver earned more fantasy points above expectation than Samuel did in 2021. And that number doesn't come as a surprise, considering that nearly 30% of Samuel's fantasy points came from rushing alone. 365 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, and that Samuel scored 3 touchdowns of 75-plus yards. Samuel's usage in the 49ers offense seems destined to change, with him voicing displeasure over his running back receiver hybrid role. That's also not factoring in the rushing attempts and short to intermediate targets that Samuel could lose out on, with mobile second-year quarterback Trey Lance becoming the starter, or increased target competition from a fully healthy George Kittle and out of the doghouse Brandon Ayuk. Number 3, Javonte Williams, running back, Denver Broncos, ADP 16th overall. Running back Melvin Gordon signed a one-year deal with the Broncos this offseason, halting the Javonte Williams 2022 breakout season. The idea of Williams playing a three-down role was absolutely salivating, but Gordon's return should not be overlooked after a seriously underrated 2021 campaign. MG3's return definitely hurts Williams' top-tier fantasy ceiling. He's going to split work with another capable back in Gordon, which is precisely what new head coach Nathaniel Hackett desires. The team has no plans to abandon its two-back rotation, even after changing coaches. I'd expect an essential 50-50 split to be the plan of attack in 2022 to start the year. Therefore, Juggernaut Javonte falls way outside of the fantasy RB1 conversation for me in redraft, because it's too hard to envision him significantly surpassing his RB17 finish in half-point scoring from a season ago, with a similar split workload expected alongside Gordon. His current ECR at RB13 is way too rich for my blood. Let's not forget that Gordon finished right behind Williams as RB18 and played one fewer game. The veteran also spoke recently, claiming he would refuse to lay down in a battle for Broncos RB1 supremacy. Number 2, wide receiver DK Metcalf, Seattle Seahawks, overall ADP 46th overall. The difference between having Geno Smith and Drew Lock at quarterback versus Russell Wilson cannot be overstated enough. It's a horrible situation to be in and puts DK Metcalf in a tough spot. Metcalf thrives off touchdown production, 32 touchdowns over his first 3 seasons, but scoring might be a rare commodity for this 22 Seahawks offense. One of the Seattle's top 2 pass catchers might be able to get by based solely on volume, but that's a rare commodity for this Seahawks offense. I'm not willing to make that bet in the middle rounds. There's no guarantee that Metcalf holds a stranglehold on the team's high target share after he and Tyler Lockett posted nearly identical target shares over the last 2 seasons. Lockett has actually outscored Metcalf in terms of points per game over the last 2 seasons. And the other major concern is how much raw passing volume is even available in the Seahawks offense, with head coach Pete Carroll looking to establish the run early and often. And my number 1 player that's going to disappoint, wide receiver Deontay Johnson, ADP 36th overall. Wide receiver 13, there's a chance the Steelers' pass play rate drops dramatically with an inexperienced and / new quarterback under center. Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky will be under center, not Big Ben this year. Pittsburgh has ranked 2nd in pass play rate over the last 2 seasons with Roethlisberger. And during the 2019 season, when Big Ben missed all but 2 games, the Steelers ranked 23rd in pass play rate. Nobody on that offense saw more than 100 targets. Why pay a premium for Deontay Johnson's 2021 26% target share at the top of round 3 when you can take Darnell Mooney's 2021 26% target share in round 6? They're just better values than paying a premium for Deontay Johnson, who's going to most likely see more inefficient targets and just less passing volume as a whole. And there you have it, folks. Andrew Erickson's top 8 fantasy football players that will disappoint in 2022. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and tell your friends about it, just not the ones in your fantasy league.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Fantasy Pros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.